Look guys, I know how hard it is to push your rank in Clash Squad matches, especially when you're playing with random players, because you guys know random players, sometimes they get separated, sometimes they don't really play that well, and the worst part is, sometimes they don't even revive you. I know this very well because I usually play with random players when I'm playing. My friends, they don't play the game right now, so I have to push the rank and I have to play with random players. So in today's video, I'm gonna tell you guys 8 tips and tricks that you guys can use when playing Clash Squad rank matches with random players. So without wasting any more time, first let's start with the first tip. The first tip is to choose a good loadout before you go into the match. There are some loadouts that are going to be very useful when you're playing with a permanent squad, and there are some loadouts that are going to be very useful when you're playing with random players. So first, I will recommend you guys 3 loadouts that I personally recommend when playing with random players. Some of these loadouts are going to be very useful when you get into 1 versus 4 situations, because there's a really high chance that we might get into 1 versus 4 situations when we play with random players. As I told you guys earlier, a lot of the time random players get separated, and if all of them get eliminated, you might get into 1 versus 4 situations. So it's a very good idea to choose a good loadout that will be very useful when you get into 1 versus 4 situations. So the 3 loadouts that I recommend, the number 1 is the bonfire loadout. The second loadout that I recommend is the leg pockets loadout, and the third loadout that I recommend is the armor crate loadout. The second tip is do not be the first person to rush, because if you are the first person to rush and if you get eliminated, who loses or wins that match will depend on the performance of your teammates. As you guys know, random players, a lot of the time they get separated, and if all of them get separated, the enemy team might easily take them down. So if you keep losing the rounds, you will eventually lose that match. So it's a better idea to stay in the back instead of rushing first. Let your teammates attack the enemies, and while the enemies are busy with your teammates, try to attack from the back. So guys, now let's move on to the third tip. As you guys know, team coordination is very important when playing Clash Squad matches, but we don't have a permanent squad and we are going to be playing with random players. As you guys know, when we are playing with random players, we don't have really good team coordination because sometimes they get separated and sometimes they don't really talk. But try to open the mic and try to see if at least one person talks with you. So if there's at least one person that talks with you, you can talk with that person and you guys can rush together as a team, because I think it's a lot better to rush with another person instead of just all of the teammates getting separated. As I told you guys earlier, if all the teammates get separated, the enemy team might have a better chance of winning the match. So it's a better idea to just stay with another person. But even if you open the mic and if no one talks to you, another good way to have a good coordination is to follow the player that plays well in your team. Usually when we get a squad, sometimes there's a person that plays really well. So if there's a person that plays very well in your squad, try to follow that person, because if you guys play together as a team, you guys will have a better chance of winning the match. If you guys get separated, the chance of winning the match is low, but if you guys play together as a team, you might have a better chance of winning the fight. So now let's get on to the fourth tip. So guys, if there isn't a good player in the team, the next option is to think of the match as a solo versus squad match. Before you play with random players, it's a better idea to think of the match as a solo versus squad match. So if you're going into a solo versus squad match, one of the things that you can help you is a good character combination. I will tell you guys a good character combination to use when playing with random players in the next tip, but for now I will tell you guys some more things that can be very useful when going into 1 versus 4 situations. The second thing that can be very useful when going into a 1 versus 4 situation, especially in Clash Squad matches, is a loadout. I told you guys 3 of the loadouts that you guys can use. 2 of the loadouts that I really recommend for 1 versus 4 situations. One is bonfire, because bonfires can give you EP and HP when you are in intense situations such as a 1 versus 4 situation. The second loadout that I recommend is the leg pocket loadout, because the leg pocket loadout will allow you to carry more glue walls. As you guys know, glue walls can be very useful in 1 versus 4 situations. So those 2 loadouts are great loadouts if you are going into a 1 versus 4 situation. Another thing that can be very useful if you get into a 1 versus 4 situation is taking the advantage of covers. As you guys know, when we are playing Clash Squad matches, a lot of the time in the maps that we get, there are a lot of covers. So instead of just staying in an open area or instead of just staying in one place, try to move from cover to cover. If you move from cover to cover, you can confuse the enemies, and if the enemies get confused, it's a lot harder for them to take you down. So instead of just staying in one place, try to move from cover to cover. If you just stay in an open area, you could get attacked from different sides. Another thing that can be very useful when you get into a 1 versus 4 situation is to choose a good gun that you know how to use well, because if you choose a gun that you don't know how to use well, for example, let's say that you don't know how to do one touch very well, if you choose a one tap gun against 4 players, you might have a very hard time, because if you keep missing the shots, the enemy team might easily knock you down. So it's a better idea to use a gun that you know how to use well. But if you want to do one-taps, first I would recommend you to first practice one-taps and then use it. If you don't know how to do one-taps very well, I would not recommend you to use a one-tap gun when you're playing Clash Squad matches. Another thing that can be very useful against a squad are grenades. A single grenade can be very useful, especially against a squad, because as you guys know, a single grenade has the ability to take down a whole squad. So remember to use grenades when you're playing Clash Squad matches. There are also some really good strategies that I personally use when playing with random players. I will tell you guys that later on. But now let's get on to the 5th tip, where I talk about the character combination. So guys, the first active character that I recommend is the Wukong character. As you guys know, the Wukong character can be very useful when we get into 1 versus 4 situations, because when you knock down an enemy when you use the Wukong character, the skill of the Wukong character resets. So if you keep knocking down enemies, the skill will keep resetting. So it can be a very useful skill when we are getting into 1 versus 4 situations. Now let's get down to the 3 passive characters of this character combination. The first passive character of this character combination is the Leon character. The second passive character of this character combination is the Kelly character, and the third passive character of this character combination is the Dasha character. Now guys, before I get down to the 6th tip, let's talk more about the giveaway. So guys, just a few days ago, Free Fire just returned the M1014 Green Flame Draco gun skin to the NA server. Here you guys can see the M1014 gun skin. So I'm gonna do a small review of the M1014 gun skin. So here you guys can see at level 1, it has the attributes damage plus, rate of fire plus, but double reload speed minus. The damage plus and the rate of fire plus can be very useful for this gun, but the double reload speed minus can actually be a problem. As you guys know, one of the weaknesses of the M1014 gun is that it takes a lot of time to reload. So since this skin has double reload speed minus, it can further bring down the reload speed of the M1014. But however, when you upgrade this gun skin to level 2, it only becomes 1 reload speed minus. And guys, you guys also get a new kill feed announcement, as you guys can see here. And at level 3, you get a new look to this gun. And at level 4, as you guys can see here, you get a new hit effect. But guys, when you upgrade this skin to level 4, it gets double rate of fire. As you guys can see here, it has damage plus, double rate of fire, and 1 reload speed minus. As you guys can see here, this is a very powerful gun skin for the M1014. And guys, at level 5, you get this cool kill effect, and it also gets a new firing effect. And guys, at level 6, it gets this new look, and it also unlocks a special attribute, which is it will do extra damage to glue walls. And at level 7, as you guys can see here, it gets this exclusive emote, and it also gets a new look. So guys, the giveaway is that I'm gonna be giving away 1450 tokens each to 5 lucky winners. So if you guys wanna enter the giveaway, make sure to comment down your in-game UID and also comment down your thoughts on this gun skin, and I'll personally select 5 lucky winners from the comment section of this video. So now let's move on to the 6th tip. So guys, the 6th tip is a strategy that I use when I'm playing with random players, and the strategy is to attack from long range. First, let your teammates attack the enemies from the front, and then go to a higher place in the map, use a long range gun and attack the enemies from that higher place. You could even steal the kills of your teammates if you do this, but it could also go the other way around, where when you do a lot of damage to the enemy, your teammates that are attacking from the front could also steal your kills. But anyways, what's important is winning the match. So you could also use this strategy when you're playing with random players. Now let's get on to the 7th tip, where I tell you guys a strategy that I use a lot when I'm playing with random players. The strategy that I use a lot is the flanking strategy. I think a lot of you guys know what flanking is, but for those of you guys who don't know flanking is, I'll just give you guys an example. For example, let's take the Catalysto around. The Catalysto around is like one of the best places to flank. For example, let's say that my team is on this side and the enemy team is on the other side. First, what I would do is I would let my teammates rush from the front, and what I would do is that I would go from the other side, from the side of the fences, and from there I will get to the enemy side. And once I get to the enemy side, I will attack the enemies from the back. But guys, when you're flanking, remember to be careful, because the enemy team might also send out a flanker. Sometimes these flankers will like hide near the fences, and if you don't really see them and if you just blindly go on to the enemy side, they might just jump out and attack you. So be very careful when you're flanking. So guys, the 8th tip is to not play as soon as the rank season starts. The reason that I say this is because when the rank season starts, like on the first day, there's gonna be a lot of good level players that are gonna be playing on the first day. These type type of good players are probably going to be pushing towards master, and there's going to be a lot of competition on the first day, and like the first week there's going to be a lot of competition. So if you play during that time, especially with random players, you might have a really hard time when you're pushing the rank. But if you play after like 1 or 2 weeks, you might get a lot of normal level players, so it might be a lot easier for you guys to push your rank after that. So if you're playing with random players, I would recommend you to push your rank after like 1 or 2 weeks. But guys, if you keep doing mistakes in Clash Squad matches, it could also cause you to lose a lot of the matches. So if you guys don't know any of the mistakes that players do when playing Clash Squad matches, make sure to check out this video, because in here I tell you guys 10 mistakes that players do when playing Clash Squad rank matches. So I'll see you guys later on with another video, and until then, take it easy fam. Peace.